Good morning, I'm Anneliese. Today I'm actually here representing the Wisconsin Anti-Violence Effort Educational Fund. We are the state's grassroots advocacy organization that's dedicated to ending gun violence deaths. If we're going to end gun deaths in Wisconsin, we have to end gun suicide in Wisconsin. Over 2/3 of all gun deaths in our state are gun suicide deaths. And if we're going to end gun suicide deaths in Wisconsin, we have to target those most at risk of gun suicide, and those tend to be older white males, like Representative Rick Gudex, who died last year from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at age 48. Over half of all gun suicides in Wisconsin occur among people ages 44 and above, the warm colors, and a fifth occur between ages 45 and 54. In addition, almost all of those occur among males. Male gun suicide deaths occur at a rate 11 times that of females. And over the past 17 years in Wisconsin, nearly all of the gun suicide deaths have occurred among our white population. So at this point, you're probably asking yourself, where's the bright spot? Because these are pretty staggering numbers, especially in public health. Well, the bright spot is actually in Connecticut. Connecticut was the first state to pass a law that allows families to have firearms removed when their loved one is at risk of harming themselves. And Connecticut's actually a lot like Wisconsin when it comes to people who are at risk of committing gun suicide, mostly older white male gun owners. So perhaps we can learn from Connecticut and find a bright spot here in Wisconsin as well. The Families Know First bill would empower families to have a loved one's firearms removed if a judge finds a credible threat of imminent harm to self or others. This is just like a domestic violence restraining order, but it's a lethal violence protective order. And in this case, the person who's being protected is the gun owner himself. So the order is restraining the gun owner himself. Since passing this law in 1999, judges in Connecticut have issued nearly 1,000 of these orders. 762 of them occurred through 2013, and those orders have been analyzed by researchers. And the researchers have found that 70% of the time the order was issued after a family petitioned the court because they were worried about a suicide, including 9% in which others were threatened as well. The researchers also found that most of the people subject to these orders had never before sought treatment for mental illness or addiction. Just 12% had sought treatment in the year before the order. That went up to 29% in the year after the order. So empowering families encouraged them to seek help. We know that preventing access to firearms will save lives because most people who survive a suicide attempt do not later go on to make another attempt. You don't need to do any fancy statistical analysis to see that empowering families has prevented gun suicide deaths in Connecticut. Their numbers and their rates have gone down quite a bit since this law was enacted. So what does this mean for Wisconsin? We're a state full of older white male gun owners and families who love them. If we were to pass this law and empower families, could we transform our gun suicide rate, which is now higher than average, to something better than average, as Connecticut has done? If we were to pass this law and empower families, could we reverse this terrible, tragic trend of more and more gun suicide deaths in our state? If we were to adopt a law like Connecticut's, and if the implementation followed the same pattern as Connecticut's in the first decade, we would likely save 70 lives. That would be a real bright spot for the friends and families of these gun owners. WAVE is working with many other groups who are interested in gun violence prevention, suicide prevention, domestic violence prevention, and also mental health consumer advocacy groups to pass a Family Knows First bill here in Wisconsin. And we're hoping now that you know about this bright spot, you'll help us. Thank you.